I think that is something that every business, regardless, it's so much easier to sell a second pair of pants to your first customer than it is to find another person to buy your pants.
You guys sell pants?
We sell a lot of pants, tons of big pixel pants. They're perfect. They're like hammer pants, but they're bright orange.
We're coming out with overalls this spring. Yeah.
Gary's wearing them right now. You just can't see it because he's on the Zoom. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Biz Dev Podcast, the podcast about developing your business. I'm David Baxter, your host, joined per usual by Gary Voigt. Hello, sir.
Hello. Good to see you again.
It's been so long, like 10 minutes. It's good.
Don't tell everybody that.
We never
they don't know that.
We don't talk outside of this. Is that true?
You don't constantly harass me over Slack.
I absolutely do. Yes, because if you would just do your job better, I wouldn't have to. Anyway, more importantly, we are joined today by my favorite Ken doll, Jesse Jones, who is funny enough.
His job is beach.
He's Lawyer Ken. It's beautiful. Jesse and I were on a podcast there a month ago. Yeah, about a month ago. And we had such a good time that we decided to keep the party going. So Jesse, welcome.
Thank you, guys. I can see what kind of episode this is already going to be.
It's already off the rails. It's already over.
Extremely professional, straight-laced.
We are nothing but
smiles.
pros. All right, we're going to start out. I was inspired by Soraya, who is the host of the podcast we did together. She started out with some lighthearted questions, and I really dug that. So we stole that from her. Thank you, Soraya. So here we go. It is almost Thanksgiving as we record this. I think it'll be after Thanksgiving when it airs, but we're going to stick with a little bit of a theme. So turkey, are you a turkey guy?
Yeah.
Or something else? A turkey guy?
I'm a turkey guy. I actually have been the turkey preparer for the last 10 years, probably.
Nice. Do you do it old school? Do you spatchcock that sucker? What do you do?
No, I've never done that, but I do use, I believe, my grandmother's method of a plastic baking bag.
Okay.
You just suffocate it?
Steam and bake.
That's right.
All right.
Keep all the juice in there.
The one time I've ever been around someone frying a turkey was with Gary's brother, Jeff. That is scary, dude. Like he did a great job. Don't get me wrong.
Years.
Oh, those things scare me to death.
I don't it's fun watching all the people set their house on fire doing it in their garage.
They drop it into the boiling oil and
there is a whole probably multiple montages of YouTube videos of people mishaps on deep fried turkey. The best ones are they throw the frozen solid turkey into the boiling oil.
Yeah, just drop it on.
I mean, it's like a rocket. That thing reaches the atmosphere up there.
There must be hospitals must just be full of those idiots. Anyway, all right. So, football or soccer?
Oh my gosh, I do not want to talk about football right now. I'm a huge Eagles, and that game last night was just pressing as all get out. So
I'm going to pretend I know what you're talking about. So cool.
I'm not going to talk about it then.
Gary, are you a football or soccer guy? You look like a soccer guy because you're that dill hole looking dude.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that. No, I grew up a football guy and then lost interest in professional football and started gaining interest in watching professional soccer or football, as they say in my country. So,
in your country?
What's your country?
Florida?
Yeah. We spell it F-U-T with the accent mark, B-O-L.
Wow, I don't believe that. I've seen too many Florida Man articles to think that you guys are that sophisticated. No way.
I watch more soccer than football now. I'll put it that way.
Here's something so I'm doing Duolingo for Italian. For my wife and I dream of going there someday and speaking. It's not going to happen, but that's a dream. And I was surprised to find out that a lot of different languages have different words for soccer. I thought we were the only idiots. Everybody else, the way they imply that soccer is the worldwide calls it football in some sort of accent or whatever, football or whatever. But no, they all have their own word for it. And I'm like, why are you making fun of the Americans then? We just call it soccer, whatever. Anyway.
Do they have
I think they make fun of
football?
the Americans because they don't really use their feet in football too often. It's
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Do other languages I have a Duolingo point for you too, but do other languages have a word for American football?
Yeah, American football.
Probably
American football.
They call it American football.
Yeah. No. Italian is calcio. And so it's okay. That sounds more like soccer than football. But anyway, all right. Gary, you're supposed to stop this. All right.
We are off the rails, but let me tell you my Duolingo story because it's about Italian.
Oh,
I did do yes, I did Duolingo probably 5 years ago,
mm-hmm.
and I was going to do Spanish because I feel like I've used that more.
It's
But
way more useful. Yes.
yeah, so my wife wanted me to do Italian. She studied abroad in Italy. Her family's from Italy, etc. No joke, I had a 1,000-day streak on Duolingo Italian.
Nice. I'm at 350 myself.
I don't know anything. Can't say anything.
Just make sure you press the button to get the little gamification rewards.
Exactly.
Man,
Right.
I tell you, I've learned a lot of words, but I am pretty sure the only thing I could do is order a coffee right now. If an actual Italian came up and spoke to me at all, one, it'd be way too fast. And this is a year of doing it, right? I'm not new at it. I've been doing this for a year. And I'm pretty sure if I spoke back to them, I would sound like Lenny from Of Mice and Men, and it would be bad. It would be really bad. But I can order a coffee. That's as far as I got.
See, my wife is also Italian, so the Italian that I learned from her makes me sound like I'm in Goodfellas because she's from New York.
Yeah, I was about to say, you can't say any of those words on the podcast.
No.
All right, one more. Are you a movie theater guy, or do you stream it all at home now?
That's a good question. I'm not a big movie guy, period. Definitely have watched more movies streaming at home. But I'm not opposed to going. It's just that 4 kids, so if we're all going to get a $150 trip.
Yeah, it's a serious night out. Yeah. So what was the last movie you saw in the theaters? Do you even remember?
Yes, I do. It was in July.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was How to Train Your Dragon.
The live action one?
Yep.
Yeah, that was actually really good. Yeah.
It's not bad.
That's pretty
I don't know why they had to make it, since the original, it still was 3/4 CGI.
I know. Yeah.
Like, what is the point? Anyway, we just saw Wicked 2 last weekend on IMAX. That's how you do it, my friend. It was
That's
fun.
right.
All righty. Now the fun part is, now we're going to get really serious. First, you just got to tell me, what do you do for a living? I know you're a lawyer, but tell the fans.
Yeah,
what
that's
is Fourscore
I
Law?
am. Fourscore Business Law is a law firm where we basically work with business owners and entrepreneurs. Most of our work falls into one of 3 buckets. We do a lot of venture financing work. So we represent mostly companies that are raising outside capital. And most of those are usually technology companies. They're software, med device, IT, some other technology.
AI.
We do, what's not AI? We do a lot of M&A, mergers and acquisitions transactions. So we help people buy companies and sell their businesses. And that's very broad. We do a lot of technology work, but also like professional services, blue collar businesses, anything really from the business we've probably touched on an M&A deal. And then the third bucket is just outside general counsel work. So we serve as outside for companies that aren't big enough to need to hire a full-time attorney and don't have a general counsel's office. We serve as outside general counsel for them. So that's more of the block and tackling everyday legal stuff.
Is that the fancy word for ad hoc lawyering for businesses?
I mean, there's fractional C-suite craze, and that's
Okay.
that's a lawyer version of the fractional
Gotcha.
Retainer.
general counsel. Yeah.
So I know I don't want to dive into this, but this is a genuine question. So we've had several M&A guys who run M&A firms, and they help people sell their businesses and buy businesses, all that kind of stuff. What is the difference between what you do for those people and what that company does? At some point, it's just a bunch of contracts. So are they doing what you do? They're not lawyers. So are they just coming to you, or are they just white labeling your kind of services anyways?
It depends on it. They shouldn't be lawyers, and they're doing the contract drafting and other type of legal work. They shouldn't be doing that. But it really depends on the size of the deal. When we have done deals, sub $1 million deals are pretty small.
Yeah.
And probably anything under $2 or $3 million, like it's uncommon. There really isn't an M&A advisor, but you have, let's finish that thought. In cases where there isn't an M&A advisor, a lot of times we end up helping with business negotiation in addition to like the legal drafting, getting the thing documented to closing. But there's like maybe 2 demarcation points where you have, on the very small deals, you have like business brokers, which are like, that's more like a main street. Somebody's going to sell a restaurant, maybe, or something
Yeah,
like
like
that,
you're
like a
selling
single
car wash.
restaurant.
Mhm.
Yeah, but car wash could be a huge deal too. But if it's like a single independent sole location restaurant, car wash, whatever, something like that, That's like a broker deal. And a lot of times those deals are so small that sometimes they get done without a lawyer. So like it might be a $150,000 deal and they have a business broker that has some template purchase agreement and just a bunch of template documents. And they basically give those documents to their client and say, you can use these. And it's a really small deal. If everything goes well, it'll be fine. If things don't go well, it'll probably be a mess, but it's a really small deal. And then you have things that are really large. Like you're talking about like Wall Street investment bank type M&A transactions.
Sure.
$500 million and up kind of things, but they're going to be like full-fledged investment banks. And those are not the deals that we're typically working. We're not doing billion-dollar deals every or ever.
That'd be fun.
Never have. Maybe. Might be harmful. But they're going to have an army of attorneys and multiple M&A advisors who are investment bankers working on the business terms, basically. And then you have the stuff that like falls in between. They're roughly, maybe a little bit smaller than an 8-figure deal, but $5, $6, $7, $8 million and up to maybe a 50, 80, $100 million deal, maybe, where there is going to be an M&A advisor, but they're like a boutique investment bank. It's a much more condensed team. So you might have one or two M&A advisors on the business side. You might have a handful of lawyers working on the transaction. So we end up working with those people a lot, unless it's a deal that's so small that they don't even have an advisor. Where like, it's just, they have a customer that wants to buy them out, or they have a partner they've worked with that they're going to acquire, or they have some other type of relationship with the buyer or the seller. They already know who the buyer or seller is. They already know what the target is if we're on the buy side, or they already know who's going to buy the company from the sell side. And then they might just come to us and they don't really have an M&A advisor.
So that brings up an interesting question. Back in the day, Uber was really famous for just diving in, and they weren't asking permission. They were asking forgiveness, right? They would blow through cities and set business up, and they didn't care about the legality of it. And their hope was, I'm so big, by the time the lawyers catch up, that what are you going to do? I am sure that startups have dreams and they're thinking they're going to follow that playbook. As a lawyer, what is that? It seemed to work out pretty well for Uber, but is that something you typically say, I'm not looking and go do what you got to do? Or is it, dude, I do not recommend that, and here's why? Because for every Uber, there's 37 that are just buried under legal bills.
It's not 37. I'm sure there's a lot more than that. But ultimately, we're not like, the lawyer in the deal is not, or the lawyer in the business is not like the ultimate decision maker. So our job is really to help the decision makers understand what the risk points are, because at the end of the day, you can't run the business based on trying to avoid legal risk. That's something you need to know about, because it might sway you to make one decision versus another. But if you're trying to avoid all risk, then don't do anything. And
sure, you're not going to be an entrepreneur.
Exactly. Yeah. Very often, all we're doing is understanding the documentation that's involved in whatever the situation is, explaining how it works. If our client's a really small company, they don't have any leverage, we're not going to waste time trying to negotiate. It's just, this is how it works. Do you want to do it or not? And the ultimate decision is not up to us. We give advice, but yeah, if the strategy is just go out there as fast as you can and try to stay ahead of any kind of regulatory action, and you better have a really good plan and a way to scale very quickly, because otherwise that's not going to work most of the time. Normally that would not probably be the recommended approach, but you make a good point. Worked for Uber. It's probably worked for a number of other companies, but there's many businesses where that's not really a viable strategy.
Big Pixel builds world-class custom software and amazing apps. Our team of pros puts passion into every one of our projects. Our design-infused development leans heavily on delivering a great experience for our clients and their clients. From startups to enterprises, we can help craft your ideas into real-world products that help your business do better business.
So I want to back up. I know from our previous podcast, you've been running Fourscore for about 8 years. Take me back to those early days, because I always like to hear origin stories, but I'm curious if it's different. Like most people, if I'm coming out with a product, I'm selling a pair of jeans or whatever, I got to go tell people about it. But I'm wondering, is legal lawyers the same thing? Or is it like doctors? I imagine you hang up a shingle and people are so desperate for a good doctor, people just start calling you. Is it like that for lawyers?
Probably a little bit. Like I started Fourscore in 2017. I had been practicing for probably 7-8 years before that, and had been in Raleigh for 5 years before that. There was a little bit of, there was already a network. I think it would be really hard to start a law firm if you want to have any kind of local presence or client base to wherever you are. It would be hard to start a law firm. Like it would be hard to move and just start a law firm. But because I was already here and already had some relationships with people, there was a little bit of, oh, you're doing this on your own now. I've been looking to get this kind of help. Maybe you can help me with it. But yeah, there's a lot of effort that we put into marketing and making sure people know who we are. Right now, we're actually really trying to work on strategically engaging our existing clients, because the most frustrating thing to me, we've probably done 50 deals, like license deals with companies that spin out IP that by NC State.
Sure.
And very often those companies, like in almost every case, not every case, but almost every case, the inventor of the IP is a professor at the university. And this is the way it works at Duke and Carolina, Stanford, MIT, and all these places. And the professors, most cases, is not going to be the business lead. Like they need to hire a CEO and they need to do all this stuff to like try to actually commercialize the intellectual property. And so but for example, at NC State, you can't even get a license. Like the professor that invented the thing can't even get a license to the patent until they have an entity. The university will not license it to an individual person. So 50 times we have met with the professor, set up some kind of an entity for them, help them through the license phase, and then they're out there either trying to do it themselves or they're trying to find a CEO or a team to build this company around. Anyway, long story to get to the point, one of the most frustrating things for me has been to see some of those companies we helped at the very earliest stage, and then they disappeared for a while. And then I'll run into somebody that's involved and just be like, hey, how you doing? And they're like, oh, we just raised our Series A, we raised $10 million. And I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Why didn't you and it's just all, I mean, like, that's not their fault. That's our fault. We didn't stay in touch with them. We didn't have a good strategy for engaging them in what we could help them with. And we probably could have made it easier for them if we had been a little bit more proactive. So I'm hoping that I can never tell that story, like a new story of that situation again. And so it is marketing. It's marketing to people that we already have a relationship with to make sure that they know how we can help them and that we know what they're looking for, so that if it's not something we can actually help with, whatever, it's a CPA or actually need help on a patent side, like we don't do patent work. We have clients that need that kind of stuff, and we'll bring a great patent attorney from outside of Fourscore. But trying to reach out and build an existing client process is something that we're diving into right now.
I know there's that old business adage that it is so much easier to make money on existing clients than it is to find a new client. There's numbers behind that I'm going to forget, but that is 100% true. And usually, even in tech, we follow the same sort of thing. We have our lane that we do, but we try very hard to just become their tech guy.
Yeah.
Whatever you need tech, because now this is my sandbox. And if you let in that guy who does something that we don't do, a WordPress site, for instance, we don't really do those. Though that guy's going to be like, get a whiff of the bigger project that we're on, and they're going to start trying to get that project. And we find if we can just be whatever they need, if that means we got to bring on an outside guy for that, then I find that is much, much better. But yeah, I think that is something that every business, regardless, it's so much easier to sell a second pair of pants to your first customer than it is to find another person to buy your pants.
You guys sell pants?
We sell a lot of pants, tons of big pixel pants. They're perfect. They're like hammer pants, but they're bright orange.
We're coming out with overalls this spring. Yeah.
Gary's wearing them right now. You just can't see it because he's on the Zoom. But all right, so here's an out there question. If you were the lawyer czar of America, what would you change about your profession?
Oh, that's a great question. I actually know exactly what I would.
All right.
I do, because we are very focused on our profession and wanting to raise the bar for our industry. And I started in a couple of much bigger law firms early in my career. And what they do really well is they teach young lawyers how to actually practice the type of law that they do. But what they do very poorly, although I think it is intentional, is it's just a complete burnout machine. It's we'll keep you for 3 or 4 years and then you'll burn out and we'll get somebody else. And that's how it works. And so I guess it's twofold. One of the things we've done at Fourscore since the beginning is we actually pay our people a vacation bonus if they take off 5 days in a row. So I am trying to get people to leave work at work and actually take a mental break so that they're getting burned out. Because I don't want to keep hiring people. I want the people that we have to continue to grow and succeed here, not somewhere else. And so that's one thing I would do is I would have some kind of like expectation. I wouldn't want like a law, but like some kind of expectation for attorneys to, and not just attorneys either, attorneys, paralegals, the admin staff, office managers, all that stuff, to have some kind of an expectation for actual rest from their work, whether that's being paid for it or whatever, it doesn't really matter. But so often it is, yes, you have X number of days of PTO, but if we have billable work to do, you better figure out how to get it done. So I go on vacation to the beach and I just work 10 hours a day from there. That's helpful. Like that just adds to potential burnout. So that's one thing I would do. The other thing I would do is I would figure out some to mimic the big firm's ability to train younger lawyers and give that power to smaller firms. And that might be an AI use case. Is like, how do we actually get more? Because it's easy in a big firm because there's 200 venture deals that are backed up. And as soon as you finish one, you're already into the next. You just keep doing it over and over again. That repetition allows you to really understand how to do it. At a smaller firm, it's hard to do that because you might be working on a venture deal, but at the same time, we're also in an M&A transaction, which is the same, but it's not really the same thing. And then you also have 5 sort of general corporate needs from different clients that are all scattered. One's an HR thing, one's an employment issue or employment agreement, one's a partnership. So it's great because you get to see a lot of different stuff. There's a lot of pieces that are applicable to different projects, but you don't as easily get the continuous repetition of the same type of work until you have mastered that. And if there was a way to use some kind of tool, be it AI or something else, to allow smaller firms to be able to train younger lawyers in that way, I think that would be awesome. So
you brought up paralegals. And so this was a question I thought of a while back. Is in the world of AI, do paralegals disappear? My understanding of a paralegal, correct me where I'm wrong, because sure I am. In my mind, there's lawyers and then all the research and looking up of cases and stuff. That's the paralegal, which seems something AI would be very good at.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that things are certainly going to change, but I don't think that. Here's the thing we've been talking. We use a couple different AI tools at Fourscore, and we're always evaluating technology and seeing what the best thing to use is. One of the things we've been talking about is AI, when used correctly, and probably in an increasing manner as we go forward and things continue to improve, is going to cut down greatly on the amount of time it takes for an attorney to do something, right? So whatever, right? Get this contract from zero to signature ready. If that used to take 10 hours, it might only take 2 hours if you're using the right tools. And so what that means is you're probably going to be able to, at least on paper, handle more stuff. Like one person can handle more stuff because there's not as much time that's needed to put into any one thing.
True.
But the reality is each person only has as much capacity to juggle so many things. So do I really think I could handle 5 times more projects? No, I don't think so. I don't think I could. Maybe there's people out there that have more capacity than me, but I don't know that's really true. Could I handle more than I am now? Yeah, probably. And if I had a better system and maybe create a system that helps me keep track of things in a more dynamic manner, maybe I could do 2 or 3 times more, but I don't think we're going to get full efficiency benefits from the actual time efficiency, like the time that AI uses. So back to your question on paralegals, I think it's going to change what paralegals do. But do I think one paralegal is going to be able to handle what 5 paralegals were doing? I don't think so. And so maybe it's only 3 paralegals where there were 5, maybe. Or maybe there's just something else paralegals will pick up. There's some other need that they can fill in some way. But I would be surprised paralegals don't exist. I don't think that's really, I don't think it's the future.
That's fair. All right. I call this my blue sky question. I've been really interested by the answers I get. I like asking owners, if you could project 5 years from now, no major disruptions, no major hiccups, your vision comes true, what does Fourscore look like?
I think we'll probably 3 times the size in terms of people. I think that we probably have 12 to 15, 18 attorneys. I think that we have branched out in terms of what we're actually doing. Right now, I'm working on getting an estate planning practice up and running. It's something I think business owner clients could really, benefit from. So I can see us moving. We've got an estate planning practice that's just thriving, and that maybe expands beyond North Carolina. Maybe we actually go after pure estate planning clients in other places. So maybe we've got 2 or 3 different locations right now. We have the office in Raleigh. We've got a small office out in San Jose. And maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something in Denver, or there's something in South Florida, or there's something going on there. I think we probably have a core team in Raleigh that is maybe half to 2/3 of the whole team. And then I think we have a distributed team for specific reasons, regardless of where they are. It wouldn't really matter probably. But I could definitely see also, we did a client survey back in June, back in the summer sometime. And we're just asking our clients hey, if Fourscore could provide additional services to you, which ones would you be interested in? And we had drop downs that were estate planning and tax law and litigation and cybersecurity and data privacy. And so we've made steps towards this. We brought on a data privacy and cybersecurity attorney in May. This estate planning thing, hopefully we'll get up and running before or right after the year. But then we also started thinking and go back to our client engagement path. What are some other things that we could actually help with? So we decided, who knows what we'll do in the future, but we decided for now to shelve the tax advisory piece. But what we did was we have made some really good relationships with some good tax advisors. And so we sent out an email to all those people that said, hey, I would be interested if Fourscore could help me with tax prep and planning. And then we made introductions to those trusted resources. Essentially, they're not part of Fourscore, but we think can help our clients. And then we thought, what are some other things that people need? Early stage companies, they need to have some kind of marketing strategy, but they don't really have a ton of budget for that. And so we took all the clients we have done a startup package for in 2025, And we sent out an email to them offering like a marketing like seminar, basically, that's run by Christy on my team, who is our fractional marketing director. But she's for 20 years, she owned her own agency and worked with all kinds of entrepreneurs, startup companies, technology, whatever. So she's got a pretty broad base. We got like almost no response. And so we're like, that's interesting, because it just seems like something that people would be interested in. So we like tweaked it, sent it out to all of our clients and said, it's not going to be a seminar. This is a one-on-one, like 1 hour conversation, no charge to you, with Christy. If she can help you with marketing strategy, she'd love to just see what you guys need. And we have a wait list. Like, we got way too many responses of people saying, yes, we would like to have a conversation with her. And so I could see us doing more stuff like that, like whether it's actually becomes part of Fourscore or not. I think that we will further evolve into like, entrepreneurs, business owners don't know what to do. They just ask the person at Fourscore that they're working with, because they know that we can either set them up with somebody, make a suggestion, or we can actually help them with something that might not even be illegal.
I think that's something that, wait, I have a good point. I think that's something that gets shortchanged a lot. If I can't do X, then that's useless to me. There's just a belief of that. And I think being a connector to saying, hey, this guy just knows smart people and he's going to connect me, makes your company so much more valuable than just a law firm. And I think a lot of people just say, I don't know. And I bet if you ask most business owners, your network, you know almost every kind of person. I know a couple of lawyers. I know a couple of marketing people. I know some PR people, right? And so if someone came to me, man, I'm so tired of my marketing person. And I say, you know what? You should talk to this person right here. And what's funny is you do that enough. I know people who built entire careers off of that. And all they do is connect people. And suddenly their basket is super full, whatever their basket is, because everyone now inevitably feels indebted to you. And you didn't ask them for that, right? You didn't ask them, hey, you owe me one because I got you this. That's not it. But you
just provide value. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're giving value. Yeah. And if you turn that back around, man, your company can explode. And I think most business guys and gals don't realize that. And I think that's an important point. All right, I'm done, Gary. What do you want to say?
Speaking of adding value and connecting people, through starting your own business and then working with startups, through a legal lens, what would you say are your top 3 pieces of advice for a new entrepreneur?
So a new entrepreneur, meaning somebody who's actually like starting a new business?
Yes. Someone who's starting a new business and was like, wait, legal? Lawyers? I need lawyers? What do I need them for? What would you say are your top 3 things?
I think that these are not really like earth-shaking thoughts, but they are probably the most foundational, basic, important things you can do when you're starting a business. Number one, from a liability perspective and an IP ownership perspective, you really want to like have an actual entity that you're running the business through. So it's great to have an idea, but once you're really going to pursue it, you want to set up something, either an LLC or a corporation in those cases. That is because if you do that, then you're starting to build a foundation to separate any liabilities that the company might have or that you personally might have from each other, vice versa. And that's what you want. You don't want some early employee who gets upset with something that you did to cause a problem for you on a personal side because you didn't separate your business from yourself. So setting up an entity is one way to do that. Having a separate bank account for the company is another way to do that. That's super important. And sometimes people they just overlook that. But that's like step one, is to do those 2 things. Number 2, I would say be very careful and be very diligent to properly and completely document any partnership arrangements. So if you have a co-founder or you have somebody that you're going to make a co-founder, you don't want to do that on a verbal agreement, because that's where things get really messed up later. It's tempting to not want to spend the time and energy and attention on that kind of stuff. But it is really important to make sure that those types of arrangements are documented. And then the third thing we'll say relates mostly to the ownership of intellectual property. That's another thing where there are ways to really mess up, especially if it's like a technology company. If you are starting a technology company and people other than yourself, and you really, but if individual people are building technology that is supposed to be owned by your company, you really want to make sure that it is clear that is the end state once they have completed whatever project they're working on. So that applies to a third-party development shop. There should be some kind of services contract that clearly lays out IP ownership rules. That applies if you're hiring somebody and you're bringing them on either as a 1099 contractor or an employee. It really even applies to yourself. Like you want to keep the business separate from yourself. So those are all things that can be easy to overlook, and understandably, like I know that when you're starting a business, like there are certain things that you're really focused on, and there are some that just have to wait. But you don't want to make those important things any longer than they absolutely have to, because you don't want to build something that doesn't have a foundation that's valuable. And those are the three that stick out to me.
Jesse, if anybody wants to learn more about you or about Fourscore, where's the best place to reach out and find you?
So you check out our website. It's fourscorelaw.com. For people that are listening, there's a ton of content on the website. You can look through our resources. You can download stuff. There's video content. There's our YouTube channel that my mother-in-law watches. But there's also a sort of a special landing page for folks that hear us on a podcast. So if you go to fourscorelaw.com/on-air, we have some special content and downloads for podcast listeners.
Awesome.
Nice.
We'll make sure we put those links in the show notes as well. Yeah. Discount codes.
Thank you so much, Jesse, for joining us. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, this has been great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. And on that note, we are out. We will be back in a few weeks because it's holiday time, but we'll be back before you know it. Thanks, everybody.
That wraps up this episode of the BizDev Podcast. And this time you get me, Jen Baxter, co-owner of Big Pixel and David's wife. Yep, I finally took the mic, or rustled it, away from David. BizDev is a production of Big Pixel, a US-based provider of UX design, strategy, and custom software. This podcast is edited by audio whiz Matt McCracken and Christy Pronto, marketing guru for Big Pixel. Want to connect? Shoot us an email at hello@thebigpixel.net or find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, X, and LinkedIn.